At first glance, the story of Jonah sounds almost unbelievable. A prophet swallowed by a great fish, living inside its belly for days, and then returning to land alive. It feels more like a myth than a message. For many modern readers, especially in Western cultures, the story is often dismissed as symbolic, exaggerated, or simply strange. But when read carefully, the story of Jonah is not really about the fish at all. It is about resistance, transformation, and the uncomfortable journey toward obedience. Jonah's story begins with a calling. He is asked to go to Nineveh, a city known for its violence and corruption, and deliver a warning. Instead of obeying, Jonah runs in the opposite direction. This detail is crucial. Jonah is not afraid because the task is impossible. He is afraid because it challenges his sense of justice, comfort, and control. His refusal reveals something deeply human, the tendency to avoid responsibility when it conflicts with our personal beliefs or emotions. The storm that follows Jonah's escape is not portrayed as random chaos. It represents inner turmoil made visible. As the sea grows violent, Jonah does not fight for control. Instead, he accepts responsibility and allows himself to be thrown into the water. This moment marks the first step toward transformation. Before change can begin, acknowledgement is required. Then comes the most famous part of the story: Jonah inside the belly of the fish. Popular imagination often treats this as punishment, but the text itself suggests something different. The fish is not Jonah's prison, it is his pause. Inside the darkness and isolation, Jonah is removed from distraction, from escape, and from denial. For the first time, he is forced to sit with his thoughts, fears, and resistance. The belly of the fish represents a space many people recognize, even today. It is the moment when life feels suspended. Progress stops, plans collapse, the future becomes uncertain. Yet these moments, uncomfortable as they are, often become turning points. In Jonah's case, the darkness becomes a place of reflection rather than destruction. Inside the fish, Jonah prays not for rescue from discomfort, but for clarity. This is significant. His prayer is not dramatic or heroic, it is honest. It reflects regret, humility, and renewed awareness of God's presence. The story suggests that transformation does not begin with perfection, but with honesty. After 3 days, Jonah is returned to dry land. The story does not describe this moment as triumph. There is no celebration. Instead, Jonah is simply given another chance. This quiet continuation reinforces the central message. Transformation is not about spectacle, it is about direction. Jonah eventually goes to Nineveh and delivers the message he was asked to share. The city responds, not with resistance, but with repentance. This outcome deeply unsettles Jonah. He wanted justice, not mercy. Here, the story reveals its most challenging insight. Jonah's struggle was never about fear, it was about control. He wanted outcomes to match his expectations. The final chapter of Jonah's story shifts the focus entirely. Jonah is alive, successful in his mission, yet deeply unhappy. God responds not with punishment, but with a lesson about compassion. The story ends without resolution, inviting readers to reflect on their own reactions rather than Jonah's. So what is the story really about? It is about the danger of running from difficult responsibility. It is about the uncomfortable truth that growth often requires confrontation with our own resistance. And it is about the idea that mercy is not something we control, it is something we are invited to understand. For modern audiences in Europe and America, the story of Jonah remains relevant because it speaks to universal experiences. Everyone faces moments of avoidance. Everyone encounters seasons of isolation that feel like being swallowed by circumstances beyond control, and everyone must eventually choose between comfort and calling. The fish was never the point. The pause was. Jonah's story reminds us that moments of darkness are not always signs of failure. Sometimes they are spaces of preparation. Sometimes they are not meant to trap us, but to turn us around. And sometimes the hardest lesson is not learning how to escape discomfort, but learning how to walk forward with humility, compassion, and a willingness to change.